G'day, film fans. I'm Dave.
And I'm John, and welcome back to The Love of Cinema, a pod in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies both new and old with a strictly positive critical eye.
That is right. And to keep us honest, we've made this episode a drinking game.
This one and this one only.
We've swapped jokes. This is great. So anytime any of us say anything negative about the movie, each other, about that other fucker Jeff who didn't turn up this week.
Fuck you, Jeff. Fuck you.
Yeah, he's grounded because he got a kid and he's in trouble for bringing strange pussy in the house. So you're going to hear this sound. And that means we're drinking. So pour yourselves a glass, then pour yourselves another, then pour yourselves another, because this fucking movie drives you to a car park, shoots you, and leaves you there to die.
Yeah, you're going to need it. Cheers, folks. In the best way possible. So Jeff is not with us today. I believe he is seeing Water for Elephants, the new Broadway musical adaptation of the book, and they also made a movie of it, of course. And I think that I think Jeff and I know one of the leads, and I think he's the Flash. I think it's Grant Gustin. Am I wrong about that, Dave? I feel like I saw that from a distance. Is he the fucking
Maybe
lead
he's doing
in
a
Water
guest
for Elephants?
appearance. He might be doing a guest appearance or something, because they're putting a lot of, like, all the numbers are down gratuitously, so they're bringing stars in left, right, and center.
Okay, so has it been running for a while? I'm out of that New York scene,
Water for Ellison has
folks.
been running for a fair bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, I think at one point he was, I don't know, I saw like a clip of him the other day doing it, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't know he was back over there and on the boards, as they say, doing the Broadway thing. Anyway.
I mean, Alyssa Milano's in Chicago right now as well, so.
Well, they love circling their stars through there. Okay, yeah. So we are doing the show this week. Sans Jeff. Don't worry, you're going to hear a little bit of his voice, whether you like it or not, film fans, coming up a little bit later. I guess I'll just kick it off really fast. We have a couple sponsors, as usual. We have Mr. Carlos Barroza, who is our beer sponsor. Are you still drinking his beer, Dave, or are you guys clean out?
Oh, I cleaned it out. Yes, we've done enough shows for me to get through it. Jeff, everyone started buzzing me for jokes, so I ran out of beer quicker than Jeff.
Yeah, we definitely. You buzz yourself more than either of us.
Well, I'm fucking
I think even
thirsty.
buzz you too. Oh, well, I know. Part of me literally is just like sipping beer now at this point. We're talking about so many amazing movies. But yeah, so Carlos Barrozo, cbarrozo.beer. That's the handle. Give him a like and love on the old Instagram, and you can follow him and his beer making. We also have a music artist in residence, sponsor, human being man who is very supportive of us and gives us his music so we can use it on every single episode. That man's name, that musical personage, if you will, his musical name is Dasein, Dasein. You can find their music available on all the usual music platforms. So follow our show notes or just go search Dasein on any of those things. You can stream, download, purchase, up to you. Enjoy.
Yeah, you might get some chat logs because he talks about himself in the third person.
It gets confusing at some points. Okay, we got a couple. Let's do our usual little. We'll do our tiny mini reviews. Dave has a special little addition to his mini review.
Yeah, I had a treat this week.
I saw a movie as well. I'll talk very briefly about it because we've already talked about it before. And then if Jeff always has a rant, and he's not with us, so maybe Dave has a rant. And then we'll go to this year, because this episode is, you're not wrong if you have looked at your title and thought, why have they not mentioned the title of the movie yet? The movie we were talking about this year, after spinning the random year generator last week, is 2003's Alejandro Inarritu's 21 Grams.
I'm so glad you pronounced
that.
Not a comedy.
Not a comedy.
No.
Not a broad comedy.
Don't put this on and expect to leave not in tears.
Oh my God. I'm flabbergasted. I watched that movie very late in bed last night.
Dial all the numbers of your therapist and then just hit send as the credits roll.
Man, he is unafraid. So stay tuned. I'm sure we're going to have a good, rich conversation on that. He is always fun to discuss, subject matter, style, all that bullshit. It's going to be fucking great. So let's kick it off first. Let me do my mini review first, because it's so small. Because I want to hear more about yours, because it sounds like that's going to be exciting. I saw Saturday night. Elizabeth and I went to go see it this past weekend.
I still haven't got to it, and I'm pissed.
Yeah, man, you're going to have fun. Everything Jeff said last week is true, so I'm really not going to talk too much about it. The only thing that I might add is that yes, there's a named director. Yes, there are obviously faces you recognize. Not tons of like A-list stars necessarily. There are some, people that have been around the block for quite a while, like Willem Dafoe. But a lot of those people are faces you recognize, but not star-making, green light movie-getting kind of names. So I'm still thankful that this is in the movie theater. It was kind of funny watching, out of all the movies that are having kind of, some trouble getting traction with theatrical releases, this is a movie about a show that we watched exclusively at home. So I could see some studio or whatever making the argument that like, no, the language is already there. They're used to this cast, this subject matter being on a television. We don't have to release it in the theaters. And I'm glad they did, because two aspects. One, it does feel kind of that Birdman. You're kind of just lost in this real-time kind of sensation, which is very immersive. And it's fun to be caught in that on a big ass fucking screen. But also, you guessed it, it was fun watching this with other people. The comedy, the tension, everybody's kind of trying to get in that behind the scenes, behind the curtain story. And they do it very well. It's entertaining. Everything Jeff said is true. If you want to have fun at the movie theater, I'd definitely recommend going to see it. It was enjoyable. So
Cool.
yeah, that was me. How about you, Dave? What did you see? Tell the fucking listeners, dude. This is great.
I actually got to see Saoirse Ronan's The Outrun.
Yes.
And there was also a Q&A with her after the movie. But I got to see it twice because we had to run a test screening of it, and then of course we had the event.
Wow.
I'll tell you what, as far as something depicting addiction and alcoholism and stuff like that, she left nothing behind. Her performance, and I like, it's a good script and that sort of thing and everything, but her performance is just the star of the show.
Dude, she is, Dave, dare I say, she might be the fucking Meryl Streep of her generation. She has only been in hit movies since she was a fucking kid. How old do you think she was in Atonement?
12.
12? I mean, she's never missed. Yeah. This girl has never missed. She's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Sorry, keep going.
Well, this one's a full indie production, so you'll have to go looking for it because there won't be as many screens as a big movie. But it's it's worth looking for if you want to see an absolutely stellar performance. Like some of the performers in it, they did the same thing as God, the name of it's gone. But basically, they're not actors. They've got people from the island they were shooting on to actually do the tour that they normally do or something, or do what they normally do. And she's just in it. She actually gives birth, like she does a birthing thing with a lamb for real. And they had to like wait until it was ready to go and then run in and do it. And she apparently she birthed 7 lambs for this film. So don't tell me she doesn't fucking give it in.
Oh my God. And the director and writer, it looks like the director's name is Nora Fingscheidt. Fingscheidt, Fingscheidt. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yes.
Man, I cannot wait to see this. Well, tell me, you've already seen it. Do you think it's one of those that because she's so amazing in it, this might continue having a little bit of buzz up through you think she might get a nomination for Academy Awards?
If they can afford a run, yeah. Because
that'd be fucking awesome.
Those awards don't come free unless you're exceptional. Or your movie's about Hollywood, because they like to have a self-wank every now and then.
Well, we fucking pick on A-list premiere, all the AMC perks that you can get with all that stuff. But depending on where you live, I have seen them now in their little artisan release category.
Yep.
I see Outrun was out this weekend, so if anybody does want to go catch it, Dave's probably right. I don't know how long their engagement is guaranteed for, so maybe try to get in there over the next week or two.
Yeah.
I definitely want to go see this, and I want to see it on the big screen, man. I'm looking at a fucking trailer silently right now, and that island looks beautiful and cinematic. It's
phenomenal. Like
the weather.
And the weather really plays a part in it too.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Good for them. God damn it. Thank you, Dan.
I almost came on the show and went, guys, I'm giving up drinking. Like, for real.
Well, it's just that.
Yeah, it was that powerful and a little bit scary.
Well, at least you watched that and then you got to kick back with the broad comedy like 21 grams. So.
Right. Yeah, that put me right back up to needing a drink.
Yeah, exactly. What's the cure for sobriety?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, man. Did Jeff record a rant for us too?
No.
Or do you have a rant?
Jeff didn't do any rants. I have a little bit of a rant.
I mean, fucking hit it if you got something.
Let's gripe for a second. Here we go. So it was released this week.
Sorry.
The Acolyte budget was $230 million plus for the entire series.
Shit.
Now it was only 8 episodes long, was it? I think it was 8 episodes long. That's pretty fucking substantial budget. Now, when you consider that about $10 a month is pretty much what the bundle is now, like you say, you're paying Disney Plus $10 a month, and the entire season has to bring in 23 million subscribers to get a return, which means Disney expected 14.5% of the entire population of the US to sign up and watch that new Star Wars show. That is not fucking sustainable at all. What are they thinking? Why do the prices keep going up? They're blowing all this money on a TV show that has a movie budget and like a summer blockbuster movie budget, and like they're never going to get a return. You can give us Star Wars shows without all the whiz-bang CGI. You can have just a show. It doesn't need all that extra shit.
Dave, say the number one more time. Because I want to give people a little context for some other giant spectacle shows, just so they know how ridiculous that is.
$230 million plus.
Okay, so just so we can compare it to other massive spectacle shows that were very successful and were very well received, unfortunately better than The Acolyte. I think the town is talking so much about what this show proved to people and how Disney may have fucked up by doing so much with it. Game of Thrones, at its peak, averaged, give or take, $100 million. So it could be as little as like 70 or 80 or 90. It could have gone a little bit over. I think it maybe touched over 100 million on one of the seasons. The final season was only apparently around $90 million. Just to give people an idea. Ring of Power, this massive Lord of the Rings show that Amazon is doing. I have heard rumors that last season it went as high as 140, but it's at least 100. So that's still, again, everyone thought that was insane.
Are you talking per episode or for the whole series?
For the whole fucking season. Yeah. And now Acolyte just doubled that. I mean, that is crazy.
Doesn't look as good as Lord of the Rings.
That is insane. So, we're just echoing what other people I think have been talking about. You punch the numbers, and I'm glad you put it into context for people, because I think sometimes people forget, just people, all of us, but definitely laymen who aren't thinking about this shit all the time from an industry perspective. We're looking for subscribers when you get big shows like that. They're trying to bring in new people. It's not sustaining an audience. There is some of that in the algorithm as well, but you can count on it. They're trying to grow their base. And it did the opposite, unfortunately. That show specifically, it's just getting a lot of shit for it. And it's probably...
They coupled it with a price increase too. Probably because they just spent $230 million on a series.
You're totally right, dude. Perfect storm of problems right there. Man, I don't know. I keep hearing...
There's a reason that TV and movies used to look different. It's like you can't sustain a TV show on a movie budget.
Exactly. I mean, and even, again, I know Game of Thrones was about a decade ago now at this point, which it's kind of crazy we're getting to that place where we can say that, but that was an insane amount of money. When people first heard that there was $100 million being put into season 5 or 6 or whatever one of the bigger ones was, right in the middle, people thought that was so crazy. But it was crashing HBO every Sunday. People were fucking trying to get on Go and Max and...
But again, HBO was sharing subscriptions like crazy, so that didn't make any money. They hemorrhaged money on that.
It was still a problem. But I mean, at least, I guess my point is that I don't know what the very first season of Game of Thrones budget was, but it was at 260.
No.
You know what I mean? Or whatever. And I just watched, I'll talk about this a little bit more at the end of the show of what you've been watching, but I watched Wise Guy, the little 2-part episodic documentary on David Chase, the creator of The Sopranos. So, of course, they were just talking about Sopranos the whole time. And I've been watching Mad Men recently, and exactly what you're talking about, dude. Long, sustained television. It's like prestige television. Like the kind of shit they would bring in subscribers. Very word of mouth, addictive, I got to see what happens next kind of shows. And those budgets were fucking nothing because there's no CG. There's just totally different kind of workflow.
Number one on Netflix last month for like a couple of weeks was Prison Break. It's like
for sure, right?
20 guys in a prison, done.
People talking in rooms again.
Yeah,
Suits, Prison Break, even Perfect Couple. Other than the A-list, like they're getting back to people just talking to each other. Which for better or for worse, it'd be one thing if the Acolyte was like the only time they did that in a slate in a few years. They had this massive show and built this huge marketing campaign around it. But it kind of just felt like another show, didn't
you expect that from a crossover event where like 2 or 3 year series meet up and all the characters are in it, like, but not just an 8 episode, like, this is the first time we're going to throw this out and see if anyone likes it. That you don't dip your toe in the water like up to the ankle.
God, that is so insane. I mean, wow. Part of me would like, I want to tip the hat there for Disney taking such gigantic risk with all these new Star Wars tries. They're really trying to create this like new universe, and I think people are responding to in general the new universe. But man, there's got to be a more responsible way to tell those stories. Again, just to point this out, a lot of people
responded to though, Andor, and Andor was done with practical sets.
Boom. People talking in rooms, no magic.
I'd love to see what the budget on that. Yeah, they spend a lot of time in a prison. They spend a lot of time in the forest. Like, you get something fly through the background occasionally. Like, yeah.
I'm looking it up right now. The season 1 of Andor, the budget supposedly. Holy shit! No fucking way. It said it was around $250. I don't believe that's true.
Why are they spending so much money?
No way. Is that true?
Like, I mean, I get it. The effects guys.
I'm seeing 130. I see another post that says it's closer to 130, 135.
Maybe that's the next season because they're filming season 2 and season 3 together.
Oh, okay, yeah, that would make sense. But I still saw that some people are saying it could have been as high as $20 million an episode, which is, I mean, that is, folks. We are getting movie quality hour-long episodes. I'm not arguing that. It basically feels like short features. The quality is through the roof. And we would make a $20 million indie and it would feel like a low-budget film for sure.
Yeah.
So some of those things do add up money-wise. But man, the point you're making stands. That show, I still think probably came in under what they filmed The Acolyte for. Anyway, we're talking and talking. I'm sure Jeff would agree with us. It's just everyone I know who's in the industry, actors are on one side of it. Now that I have some friends who are on the other side in development worlds and studios and production companies, apparently the town is very, very conscious of trying to go back to lower costing material that has a chance to create a growing IP or is literally spinning off like Suits LA,
Agatha All
Suits,
Along
blah, blah, blah.
is one of the cheapest Marvel shows they've ever made. And it's apparently so far one of the most popular ones.
They are fucking marketing the hell out of that show. I know they want everybody to watch it.
It's
and of
just
course,
stupid good fun.
I'm sure you've been watching it, so I'm excited to hear more about it at the end. All right, well, now we're going to do something fun and funny, film fans, you fuckers, because we are going to start segueing in now to the year 2003. Again, we spun that random year generator last week, as we do every week for the past several months now. And 2003 came up. We argue about choosing a bunch of different movies. We've done this year before, of course, and please check back in our catalog to try to find those years. I think it's always fun to go back and look at some other movies from the year. I definitely refreshed on some. But anyway, Jeff usually fills us in on the year that we were talking about. And to be honest, guys, Dave and I just didn't feel like doing it. We're not as good as him at setting it up. So this son of a bitch recorded it for us, and we're going to make fun of him while he tells us all about it.
Tell him the truth. We fed Jeff's voice into an AI, and this is what came out.
This is Jeff talking.
Hey there, bitches. Now I'm sounding like this fucking guy, John. It's Jeff, ready to set up the film year 2003. Hey, Dave, I'm using shitty audio. I hope you appreciate that.
Yes, you are.
Bad audio coming at our listeners. Setting up the film year 2003. Dave edits and produces this podcast. So if you like it or hate it, send him a message. What?
So just for the record, Jeff's address is, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yes. My friends, do you think was the highest grossing?
It's really cool to have a pause control on Jeff. I'm liking this.
I was just is this your fucking dream? Yeah, I feel like
it's like I could just stop him.
I think you want it on everybody, Dave, if I'm not mistaken. Let's not limit it to Jeff.
I mean, can you imagine how long the episode would be if I paused you guys and just went rogue? Like,
movie.
No fucking way.
2003. We already talked about 2003 in this summer blockbuster face-off. What was the highest grossing film that came out in the year 2003?
Pause it.
Yeah, did he get Summer Blockbuster Face Off right? He got the title of our sequence right? Was it just me? No.
What do you mean?
Well, he never gets
Did
it
he fuck
right.
it up?
Every time he references it, he never gets it right. I think he got it right that time.
Well, he had time to practice. This is his second take. All right. Just to refresh everybody, this is the year of fucking Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. This is the year of Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. And this is the year of Matrix Reloaded.
He's probably going to say all that in a minute.
He probably is. Yeah.
What?
Do you think? Yeah. Well, I'm going to fucking guess anyway.
I will lay $1 down. He rattles off a list of titles because I think he had a lot of speed before he recorded this.
I mean, he's going to. What is your guess though? Because literally, we did this, but film fans, remember, in our summer blockbuster face-off, if a movie came out outside of the summer, we couldn't count it. So it doesn't mean that if it wasn't the blockbuster material that came out between the months of May and September, basically, we weren't allowed to talk about it. So I am guessing.
And God, did we get some emails about that?
Oh God.
What are you trying to guess?
I think I'm going to guess Curse of the Black Pearl because Lord of the Rings came out on Christmas, and I bet it did gross more, but it would have gone into the following year.
He hasn't even asked yet.
Yeah, he did. He just fucking asked.
No, wait, he hasn't finished the sentence. The sentence goes for a minute.
Fucking keep going, mother. Shut the fuck up. Let's go.
I bet you John gets it. We talked about Finding Nemo, which was the #2 highest grossing movie, which came in at $871 million worldwide. But no, the #1 movie at the box office in the year 2003, according to Box Office Mojo, is The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, which made $1.1 billion in 2003. Almost all of that was in its initial release.
Almost all of that was
which is, of course, one of the rare times, and perhaps one of the last times, that the #1 highest grossing movie at the box office would also go on to win Best Picture. More on the awards in a second.
Wow.
#3. The Matrix Reloaded. That's right.
Hey-o.
Revolutions would come in at #8. That is the year that both the Matrix movies came out.
Shocker.
They both were in the top 10 in the same year. And
yeah, everybody got burned by Reloaded and nobody didn't go and see Revolutions.
I totally fucking forgot about that. God, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Neither of them were up for the visual effects Oscar. How interesting is that? The Curse of the Black Pearl. Pirates of the Caribbean OG comes in at #4 with $654 million.
I saw that movie by accident. It was like the third movie in a triple play at my local cinema. And it was like an all-night session. So you got 2 movies, and then one of them was Scary Movie 2. And I'm like, oh, whatever, I'll just sit through this Black Pearl thing. And
you loved it.
It was amazing. Saw it by accident.
Yeah, it's fun.
And come on, guys.
Okay.
Come on. The Jim Carrey effect at the box office. Bruce Almighty is #5 with just under $500 million. To round out the top.
He sounds just as excited on his toilet as he does when he's recording. Because that's where he recorded this. You should have heard the original audio. Fuck me.
Top 6, The Last Samurai.
Yeah.
Terminator 3, The Rise of the Machines.
Fuck that movie. I'm sorry, but fuck that movie.
I think we all said we were not big fans when we were talking about in the franchise face-off, right?
Yep.
Revolutions, as we said. X2, X-Men United, a fantastic sequel.
Best ever.
All of those made over $400 million. And then Bad Boys 2 sneaks into the 10th spot with $273 million. A couple fun other movies that are in the next realm of movies, all in the $200 million range. Something's Gotta Give, Charlie's Angels Full Throttle, The Village, which we did a relook at later, and we really liked it, right? We liked it. The ending gets a little cheesy, but I feel like we liked it. Brother Bear, and then of course you get like Hulk,
what's that?
Love Actually, Too Fast, Too Furious, American Wedding, Scary Movie 3, Elf. Pause so that John can talk about some indie movies that came out this year.
He's taking shots now.
He knows me so well. We almost chose it because I saw it. Anyway, Old Boy.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. Right? I've never seen it.
Park Chan-wook's, the band we talked about last episode, 2 episodes.
I don't know. We keep trying. I keep trying to get us to do it on the show, and because I've never seen it.
When did we talk about Decision to Leave? Was that last week or 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago, I think.
2 weeks ago, yeah. Shop Around the Corner was last week. So Park Chan-wook's Decision to Leave, the guy we talked about 2 weeks ago, this was his international breakout. He had already made some. But anyway, Old Boy, fucking legendary. That is a violent, fun revenge story if anybody's into that shit. Definitely Kill Bill Volume 1. Not exactly indie, but that still, I think that, man, that might be my Tarantino
Looks like an
favorite.
indie film.
Memories of Murder, which he might mention that again because we have talked about that before. And that might be like a top 5 of our collective episodes and how much we all loved it. I think we were just like fucking blown away by that masterpiece. 13, I wanted to mention that. And then, yeah, I'm good. We can keep on.
All right, let's see what he's got to say about that.
I don't know if you paused. I feel like John said these, but come on, guys. According to filmlifestyle.com, Old Boy by Park Chan-wook.
Oh my God.
He's got your number.
The director of 2022's Decision to Leave, which we just did a few weeks ago. That was the #1 movie of the year.
He can't remember either.
Closely by Bong Joon-ho's Memories of Murder, which we talked about a year or two ago. Guys, those are 2 of the best movies I've ever seen. Actually, I've never seen Old Boy. Forget I said that. Memories of Murder is one of the best movies I've ever seen. Came out in 2003. We've talked about both Memories of Murder and Decision to Leave. Go listen to those podcasts in the feed. So good.
Jeff's actually there for them.
A couple teeny tiny news things. Gregory Peck and Catherine Hepburn.
Pause it really fast. Hold on.
Uh-huh.
I also wanted to mention The Life of David Gale. Have you ever seen that, dude? About capital punishment?
Nope.
Laura Linney, Kevin Spacey, Kate Winslet. That's worth a watch. And Master and Commander, which we almost did. Your Countrymen's, Peter Weir's, Russell Crowe, Paul Bettany. That movie is fucking
one role
awesome.
Russell Crowe hasn't had to apologize for.
Come on. Well, we don't know that, Dave. Don't you? He may have. All right, let's go.
All right, there's 4 minutes left.
Okay. Arnold Schwarzenegger is sworn in as the governor of California.
The governor.
Right? And then I'm actually just going to go right to Oscars. So we got Lord of the Rings. We'd go 11 for 11. Reminder, it was not even nominated for cinematography after it won for the first movie. But it won score for your boy Howard Shore.
Wow.
Howard Shore. John.
Sure.
Sean.
Yeah, come on.
Sean.
But it's
Sean
just
Penn
doing
and
his
Tim
own
Robbins
thing.
would both win for Clint Eastwood's Mystic River. Bill Murray would win the BAFTA for Love Actually, as would Scarlett Johansson. How about that? Renee Zellweger would do a clean sweep for Cold Mountain, but the Oscar would, of course, go to Charlize Theron for leading actress. Lord of the Rings would somehow win the screenplay Oscar over American Splendor, which also won the BAFTA. And Lost in Translation would win original screenplay over The Station Agent. Go ahead, John, and fill in some other movies you want to shout out from this
Don't you do it. You've already done it.
Fuck, man. This movie year.
Even this is take 2?
All right. I know you want to talk about your
going.
movie, but a couple world events. Are you ready?
Oh, God.
This is basically the year we invaded Iraq. So Colin Powell presents the Iraq War rationale to the UN, citing its weapons of mass destruction, which he knew he didn't have any proof of.
This is what happens when you leave YouTube running too long.
Oh, fuck.
Don't leave YouTube running
in the State of the Union
ever.
address, Bush announces that he is ready to attack Iraq, even without a UN mandate. Glad we have the UN if we're just going to be like, nah, don't need it in this case.
Man.
Bush signs a 10-year, $350 billion tax cut package, the third largest tax cut in U.S. history, effectively killing the Clinton surplus. But it was fun while it lasted for people who got it. The New Jersey Devils won the Stanley Cup. That's right, Scotty Stevens. Let's go.
He's not here, so I can't buzz him.
This is the year that Serena Williams beat Venus Williams in the Wimbledon final. Not the first time they would be in a.
It was a very awkward Thanksgiving.
Wimbledon, big deal. Norah Jones dominated the Grammy Awards, picking up 5 trophies.
Only 2 minutes to go.
American Idol's second season would be the highest rated show of the year. According to this thing that I just read, it's as popular as low-carb diets. Although Ruben Studdard was crowned America's second Idol, runner-up Clay Aiken went on to win the hearts of
I stopped listening 2 minutes ago.
The Da Vinci Code book came out. Shout out Dan Brown. Way to make a lot of money.
Wow.
3 fossilized skulls discovered near the Ethiopian village of Herto in 1997 have now been identified as the oldest human remains in modern.
Oh my God. Have you seen this thing on TikTok this week about the body in the carpet in the backyard in England or somewhere? This girl wanted to put a fence up, so they dug a fence post hole and they hit a rug rolled up in their yard under the ground. So she called the cops, and they end up this whole thing was unfolding over TikTok in updates, and the cops ended up coming around. They bought sniffer dogs, and 2 cadaver dogs came in and sniffed and sat down, which means they sniffed something down there. And so they had to bring the crime scene people in and dig up the whole fucking backyard. I think they just didn't want to dig the holes, to be honest. But yeah, it turns out there was nothing there, and now they don't know why the dog sat down. So because they really only sit down when they smell remains or blood.
No treats that night.
But no, there was nothing.
Bitches.
There was nothing in the carpet for anyone who missed the resolve.
That's TikTok in a nutshell to me, right there.
Yeah, it needs a
Making you
30-second
feel like
reprise.
you need to be watching. Yeah, yeah.
Of modern humans. A lot of Iraq, a lot of suicide bombings that we don't need to get into, but there were suicide bombings in.
We don't need to get into, but here's the stats.
2 synagogues in
He
Istanbul,
can't help
Turkey,
himself.
that killed
He's
25.
addicted to
Jerusalem,
stats.
suicide bombings killed 20.
Oh,
Terrorists
God.
killed 34 in a rampage in Saudi Arabia, and Baghdad's UN headquarters were bombed, killing 24. So that's no good. And
going to joke over the suicide
Libyan
bomb
leader
part where the movie's bad
Muammar
enough.
Gaddafi rises to power and then announces he will give up his weapons program later in the year. Hugo Chavez's resignation. He didn't want to resign, but he ended up leaving in defeat after a 9-week general strike in Venezuela. And
That'll do it.
last but not least, I'm going to say the Hubble telescope has detected the oldest known planet, and it appears to have been formed a billion years earlier than astronomers thought possible. Nicknamed Methuselah after the aged biblical patriarch, the planet is an astonishing 12.7 billion years old. So my alien
just around the
wanting
corner.
friends, just think, Earth is whatever. We're gonna ruin humanity in 3 billion years. This fucking planet
Humanity's
could have
ruined. It's the
had
planet I'm worried about.
civilization 8 billion years ago, and their people fucked it up. So aliens are real, but they just might not be real at this time. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your 2003 podcast. And have a great week off next week, you sons of bitches.
Hey, Jeff, wherever you are. Yeah. Good God.
Drink, motherfucker.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's long. It's what I'm looking for. Honestly, I get my catch up every week. I like listening to him read off. I like the context, listeners. I'm sorry if you don't. If you do, fuck you.
Yeah. That's why we have chapter points.
All right. This is going to be exciting. He set it up. It is a great year. I have talked about it before. I think the early 2000s up through mid-aughts, 6, 7, 8, I think that may have been the last kind of hurrah for what we thought of as the last really strong part of that film age of the 90s into the 2000s, where there was another big boom of artistic filmmaking, and of course there was still big budget filmmaking. The big, superheroes started to rise in that point, but there was also classic IP. Oscar movies were still bringing in good amounts of money, as he pointed out. This was the final year of Lord of the Rings, and Harry Potters were right in the middle of them at this point. So, I'm not saying it was just one kind of movie, but I think we're going to end up kind of feeling that if you start looking back in our canon, just when we start talking about these movies in the 2000s, it feels like something shifted in the late aughts into the teens with the rise of streaming. This kind of movie, what we're about to talk about, and Dave, I definitely want to hear your opinion on it, but I can't remember the last time I saw a modern movie that kind of felt this stylized. I'm not talking about literally in my own personal viewing, but it was just refreshing. And so I want to talk about it. Let's read the blurb and let's get into
it. For anyone just joining us, it's 21 grams, or for those listening in America, 0.74 ounces.
Fuck you, Dave. I'm fucking asshole. Or the weight of 5 nickels, apparently. The weight of a hummingbird. Okay. This is the blurb, the IMDb blurb for 21 grams, 2003, Alejandro Iñárritu. A freak accident brings together a critically ill mathematician, a grieving mother, and a born-again ex-con. This is starring Sean Penn as the mathematician, Naomi Watts, holy fuck, your countryman, as the grieving mother, and Benicio del Toro as the born-again ex-con. 3 leads. Anyone who was listening to Jeff's rant, Sean Penn had 2 amazing roles this year. Mystic River, which I think he said he won for, right? If I remember correctly. Hoi, hoi, hoi. No, I think Tim Robbins won something. Anyway, Sean, I think, was nominated. I'll look it up. It doesn't matter. So he had a fucking baller year. This was only 2 years after Naomi really exploded with Mulholland Drive. I think that was 2001. So she fucking brings it home again.
Actually, she exploded with the series Brides of Christ.
Well, down is that a little down under information for us, David?
Yeah.
Is that
that was definitely made somewhere else?
Is that made here? All right, and fucking Benicio. When was Traffic? 2000. I think people knew who he was. Not Leaving Las Vegas. Fear and Loathing was before then. But anyway, these were recognizable faces. Is the point I'm trying to make? but this was a fairly unknown director. Just to give people a little context, he had made I want to pronounce it correctly. I don't want to fuck up his work here. He had made his first film that really exploded out of Mexico, Amores Perros. Sorry for the terrible accent. That came out in 2000. That came out in 2000. Will eventually become one of the, which I guess, how was this not racist, whatever, but the film community very lovingly started referring to him as one of the three amigos, him and Guillermo del Toro and Alfonso Cuarón. And they very lovingly helped this unknown director make the final edits on his first film. They just got in touch with him because Guillermo del Toro heard about it, helped with that. Alfonso came and helped with that. It launched Amores Perros, fucking threw him into the international scene. It was a Spanish language film. So this is his first solo film in English. Just to give people some context. I mean, I'm sure he spoke some English, but I mean, good God. I mean, that is still, what a feat. Anyway, so 21 grams. This is it. I just talked a little bit too much. So Dave, why don't you tell us what your thoughts are? Neither of us had seen this before, right?
No, I had not seen this.
All right, man. Tell me, what'd you think?
I was lost in the first 20 minutes. Had no idea what the story thread was, but I will tell you, stick with it. It stabilizes. Everything starts to come together. It's so widely scattered at the beginning. And it's by design. It's on purpose. Because when they shot this, they actually shot it chronologically and then fucked with it in the edit to make it so that it's disjointed and you don't really know what's going on. You should know going in that all three leads in the film and several other characters are not doing well psychologically. By at least the 30-minute point of this film, almost no one is doing well psychologically. But as far as like holy shit performances, this has a ton of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the mess.
You like it?
I did. I mean, I watched it to the end and like stuck with it, even though I was sitting there going, "What the fuck is going on?" in the first 20 minutes. Like, why is this suddenly? It feels like it jumps, but it doesn't. It's jumping in time. It's doing all those sorts of things. Just it's all good.
I mean, that's so important to point out because I think I mentioned this last week, but I think this is the only movie of his that I had not seen, and it was not that I had a resistance to it, but I had just heard over the years that it was super disjointed. And that really is only true for the first 20 minutes or so. And even though it is very consciously, it really does. And it doesn't do it in such a crazy way that you're still not compelled by what you're seeing. I mean, this is one of those movies that
it drops these little tidbits and you're like, what the fuck's that about? And you want to know. And so I think they're very well placed. You know how I kept track in the first 20, 30 minutes? I was looking at the contrast curves in the film. Anytime they matched, every time I matched, I knew they matched, I knew it was in the same fucking time period.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about that too. This movie came out not too long after the movie Traffic that I just referenced. And they don't play with time as much in Traffic, but they play with place a lot. And we've talked about before how Steven Soderbergh used very different coloring timings on Mexico, the government scenes, and then I can't remember the third, what the color looks like, sepia for Mexico. Anyway, I want to talk about that a little bit later. The contrast curves, how the style that he was working with, and how that is a fun breadcrumb that is very subconscious for people who don't know what filmmaking, all that sausage is, But it was useful and it was very effective. I think, Dave, you pointed out what I think the elephant in the room is. This movie probably would have been I'm sure it still would have been a compelling film because the performances are so strong, had it just been edited in chronological order. But there is something, dare I say, artistic about breaking it up that doesn't feel like a filmmaker just chose to do that. I think it plays into the themes of what is the weight and cost of 21 grams, and what is this, this breaking and deconstruction of time, and how it makes us think about grief and death. The rules don't really apply to grief and death in terms of linear time. You know what I mean? Like, yes, time heals all. Yes, people can move forward. But I think anyone who's dealing with grief can tell you that at some days, for no reason at all, that person will just come into your mind and boom, they're there again, and you're feeling it. So, not to get too heavy too quick, but I totally agree with everything you said. It is intentionally like, okay, is it going to be like this the whole time? Yeah, I think the average viewer is going to be asking themselves that.
Well,
and then 20 or 30 minutes in, it sinks into enough of a
well, no, they still do it later, but you're used to it by then, and there's enough of the story coalescing.
Well, you're used to it by then. Exactly. There's enough of you understanding what the timeline probably is that you start to know, okay, I know where that is probably going to take place. And there's still enough of intrigue, of guessing, of seeing it play out and when it actually is going to happen, that you are kind of waiting to see, like, to the very end to actually watch things play out. But without a doubt, the most noticeable thing, I think, artistically, the biggest, I know we're kind of doing our first statements here, but I feel like I just want to point this out right at the top of our conversation. Iñárritu had that really great conversation with, it was on Deacons, right? Didn't he do Deacons? I can't remember if it was on Deacons or not, but he had the great conversation last year with Bardo. And I mentioned it for sure that he was very mindful when he was making Bardo, because he had started meditating for like the year before, 2 years before. And he said it like totally changed the way he wanted to make stuff. And the way the metaphor he was using was that he said, my previous films, and especially his earlier films, and he referenced this one specifically. He said, I wanted you to feel that the weight of the ocean was on top of you. I wanted you to be scuba diving under too much pressure, the weight. Whereas he was saying, in contrast with Bardo, his film from 2 years ago or last year, that he wanted it to be more like you are in snorkel gear and you can see the bottom of the sea if you want to, but it is up to you to kind of navigate. And holy fuck, I could not stop thinking about that. The weight of the ocean of emotion and character just fucking shamelessly weighing down on you.
Well, I mean,
but I think what's so genius is the time thing.
In ECU for half the film, like the shot list must have been like 50% extreme close-up.
But Dave, don't you agree that I wonder if he had a linear cut, because I think it would have been too much if it had just been linear. Without another aspect of intrigue, I think I would have drowned in the weight of the emotion.
I feel like it would have got boring if there wasn't something to look for. What's that about? Like he definitely picked the perfect way to tell the story, or stories, because there's 3 of them. But I'll tell you what, like they get so close on the actors in this, that when you go to the wides, I got agoraphobic. Like, it's fucking insane how close they get on people when they're just, and again, it's like, Watts just destroys herself on camera a couple of times.
Dude, I know. There are 3 scenes. All right, turn on your spoiler alerts, folks. If you really should. If you're thinking about watching this, even if you kind of think you know what it's about, like we did, you should try to watch it and not listen to what I'm about to say. But she's the grieving mother, and she loses her husband and her 2 young daughters to a car accident where Benicio del Toro's character accidentally runs them over. And then it's like a hit and run style. Sean Penn eventually he needs a heart transplant. He's sick, he has heart failure, and he gets her husband's heart. And that's what kind of brings all these people together. He tracks her down. They try to find Benicio del Toro for kind of some revenge. Anyway, what Dave was saying is, her 3 big breakdown scenes, when she finds out at the hospital that they're dead, when she finds out that his heart is in Sean Penn and he was trying to seek her out because of that.
I'll talk about that scene in a minute.
Motherfucker. And when she expresses that she needs revenge and Sean tries to talk her out of it, she is fucking A+. She is so intense. And I mean, she's always great for me, but I could not believe the places she went to and the fire and the passion. She had power in those scenes. It didn't just feel like she was a broken mess. I mean, there was still there was power there. She was fucking dominating Sean Penn in some of those scenes, which is not easy to do.
To the point where I have a note where it's like, it didn't feel like they gave Sean Penn much to do in the first half of this movie, because she was such a standout.
Man, dude, I'm so glad you said that, because I feel like thematically, you eventually learn that he's the mathematician. Yeah. And he has like this one little speech. It's not really that much of his character, but you have to kind of want to see it, where he kind of expresses that he believes in this. He doesn't say the number 21 grams, but he believes there is a number that could put together, you could actually deduce using all the mathematics of the universe to find a number that could equal perhaps the weight of a soul.
This was actually measured.
Meaning.
It's based on an actual event, or that theory is based on that actual event. So they actually measured it. It's been kind of disproven and poo-pooed upon as science does. But yeah, it's like, I lost 21 grams. Yeah, I bet you did.
I wanted to mention too, because I just felt like while we're in the space of the playing with time and stuff, and eventually style, that I want to get to aesthetic as well. Because you don't need to think about any of the crap that we're talking about right now to be very affected by this movie, because the performances are so strong. But the time manipulation that we were talking about, Iñárritu also always says, and he has not changed this throughout his whole course of his career, he believes that you find and establish your form, and your form will dictate the substance. So what we're about to kind of probably talk about with the time manipulation, that is going to be part of form. And also, Dave, I want to hear what your thoughts are on just the cinematography, the way they shot certain periods of time, like certain places in time, and also just sometimes the way they would just their white balance was so fucking crazy that anytime anybody was near a window or certain moments outside, they didn't want you to see anything around them. Yeah. They were just totally right. So yeah, what did you think about the cinematography?
He did that with Iris as well. Like he'd deliberately flare out the background. It was almost like they controlled the sun where they were shooting and flared out the background, so it brought it down to just this event. The rest of the world didn't matter outside of that. Yeah. There were two different film stocks used on this one, so that is some of the color change, because like certain film stocks, when you hit them with UV light, of course, you get that green tinge, and then like some of it was color timing, definitely, but I think a lot of it was them just playing with lighting and film stock as well. Some of it was done in camera, which is a fucking daring thing to do. I'm terrified of doing that. Because what if you fuck it up? What if you get it wrong? It's like, can we just film it film like 2 frames and we'll just send that off to the shop and we'll wait and lose half a day. But also like going that close on performers is something as well as a cinematographer, I have to get over it, but I'm a little scared to do, because like they're so hard to hold, and you like a character or an actor needs to be like, I guess, disciplined enough to hold that position but still explode on camera. And you've got to be disciplined enough to know where they're going to move. It needs rehearsals and stuff, and just to get to know their movements and how they react as a character and stuff like that. It's
absolutely,
that took a lot of work, like, to get what they got.
I mean, and
he wasn't afraid to dirty up the details, the frame either.
So dirty, dude. I mean, this was.
There was one scene where like Sean Penn is sitting there and half of the frame is like her head blocking that half of the frame. He's just in the left-hand side of the frame. And I'm like, wow, that is like, normally you'll get like a hint of something there or something like that. But no, they just filled half the screen with just her head out of focus.
Yeah, I don't think they care. And I often wonder, to get to what you're saying, let's go back. Which one statement where you said they must have taken a lot of prep and rehearsal and stuff. He says, and I don't know about this movie specifically, but that he has said, even though his movies feel so fucking alive, they don't feel perfectly controlled. Yeah. He said he makes the movie in pre-production. He's very shameless about that. Most of it is prepped, and he knows what he wants it to look like and feel like, and then they rehearse a lot with actors.
Yeah.
I don't know if they did it exactly with this one, but he says that's how he likes to work. I've heard him say that throughout the years in multiple interviews.
What shows?
So again, kind of like the old Cassavetes films, or so many of the classic, really strong performance-driven movies that also, it's even more impressive, I think, sometimes when they are done handheld. It feels like you're just a voyeur in the room. It feels like the cinematographer just let that be too dirty because they just thought it was best in the moment. And I'm just wondering, as the director in me is wondering, or was it planned? Did they practice that a lot so that they got that framing exactly in that moment?
Literally a moment where a hand goes in front of a face, and I'm like, did they leave that in there on purpose? Like, was that blocked? Because
that shot you described as Sean. Who's dirty? She's dirty, right? And it's like a little bit of his face.
Yeah, no.
That works.
You get his whole face.
It's the opposite.
Yeah, but it's just, it's like her hair.
It's just dumb. Yeah. I mean, thematically, like, that works too.
Yeah.
It could have been a happy accident.
The fact that everything is handheld really, like, helps heighten everything in this movie.
Everything.
Yeah. So it's like, it's handheld. They use natural lighting a lot, and it's spherical, like spherical lenses. So, like, the reality is right there in your face.
It made me think too. Have you ever seen Amores Perros, his first film? Have you ever seen that movie?
No.
Okay, it's all I'll say for the point I'm making right now is it's very similar in terms of approach and style and playing with time and the stories coming together as this one. And honestly, he's done more movies that are like that. And I guess the point I'm trying to make is that sometimes I think as artists, you get like, you feel pressure to like do something different or do something new. And obviously he has broken a lot of rules, and later in his career, he would go away from this form and try other things. But I think it's so cool and so respectable that just a couple years before, he broke out with a very edgy, experimental Mexican film, Spanish language, with this exact approach. And he said, well, let me just do that again. I'm not done exploring that kind of storytelling. And I just think that's so cool. And there's even an argument that I think Babel may have been the next film he made. And that is also in the same style of Babel. Yeah, it was 2006. Multiple stories, that handheld, fucking in your face. And I guess it's just a beautiful reminder that, I mean, if you are shameless about it, if you have the form, if you approach these things seriously, have good performances, like, it'll work if it works. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter that somebody had kind of done something similar before, if it was them or somebody else. I don't know. I was so aware when I was watching it. I was like, this dude's set. This is a masterpiece. This film is like, is just so incredibly filmic.
Yeah.
I don't know. There was something.
I mean, there was no one interfering with the making of this film. Like, you can tell there's no studio interference here. This is just someone going, this is what I want to make. And every artist, Brent, coming in going, this is how I want to help you make it. It was,
it's just the focus features would made this, right?
I think they bought it.
I was going to ask, I was trying to look up because it went to Venice. And Focus is notorious for their kind of material, that smart house kind of material. Does really well with a good festival launch.
If you've got a cast like that sitting at your top line, though, like, they're going to buy it. It's like,
I think, well, that's what I was about to say. I think Universal made this through Focus features.
Because they all of them signed on before the script was written or finished.
Because they wanted to work with this guy. Yeah. So just to give everybody just a little bit of info, this did end up going down and premiering at Venice. Sorry, I'm burping so much. Where it did very well. Sean Penn was the winner of the Volkey Cup for Best Actor. That's one of their specialty awards for actor. They also have Audience Award.
Sounds like a prize you get in Australia.
Best Actor for the Audience. Best Actor for the Audience Award. Fuck you. Best Actor for the Audience Award went to Benicio del Toro. So those guys were kind of duking it out, as they were probably the whole year. And Naomi Watts, no surprise, won the Audience Award for Best Actress. Naomi Watts also won for everything. She also won something called the Wella Prize, which, to be honest, I'm not quite sure what that is. I assume it's something with acting, but pretty crazy. And then the film was nominated for Iñárritu for Best Film for the Golden Lion. So did pretty fucking well there. Then came out in the States. They released it here in the fall and did pretty well there too. The budget was $20 million and it ended up grossing worldwide $60 million. But here's a catch, which I think is important. Opening weekends in the first few weeks are important. The opening weekend in US and Canada was $275,000 in ticket sales.
Yep.
With 3 stars in it.
Yeah.
Again, they're not Brad Pitt, Clooney.
Yeah,
they're not maybe at that level, but
again, like this is a time period where they start, like, the big blockbusters are buying out 3 or 4 cinemas. So this was the start of the indie shutout. I guess.
Man, dude, you're totally yeah. No. Good call. Lord of the Rings needed 30 fucking theaters in a multiplex so it could show
it did just fine.
20 showings. It did just fine. So it is nice to know that it tripled. It made its money back. So with the marketing and everything, it probably profited a little bit of money. But you know what? I was one of the people who skipped this thing.
Good news, folks. If you watch it on Prime, you only get ads at the beginning.
Yes, I was about to mention that as well. What did you think about? I mean, we've kind of talked about all of them.
Could you imagine cutting to an ad?
What was your favorite Benicio moments?
Could you imagine cutting to an ad in the middle of this?
In the middle of this? Do you have hemorrhoids?
Are you? Somebody be like, fucking put him on the phone. What the fuck are you doing?
Awful. I'm sure they did at some point. Dave, when was the last time you saw that? At the beginning of the Prime.
The FBI warning
screener. Yeah, the FBI warning that used to be on the VHS 90s? Tapes.
The 90s, I think, was the last time I saw that. I was like, what the fuck is with everyone getting a Blu-ray? Like, they're getting a DVD dub, and that's what we're seeing now?
Really good. I mean, that made me laugh. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, I was like, oh,
what did you think of Benicio? And what were some of your favorite moments with him?
I love that as an actor, he's not afraid to go there, in like specifically in the scene where the son hits the sister, and he just grabs.
Oh shit!
Yeah, he's like, hit her other arm, like, and so he makes the kid hit her again, and then he smacks him up the head when there's no hitting in this house. It's like, oh my god, that was such a like. I mean, there's so many scenes in this that are powerful, and that like a lot of them revolve around him because he is so like set in his ways, and it's a complete devolvement of like his newfound faith and everything and like he is the catalyst of this a little bit.
I kept thinking about two things. I mean, it's not that I wasn't thinking about them with Naomi and Sean, but you're right. He is kind of that catalyst character. And in a lot of ways, he's the most tragic character because he's coming from a bunch of past circumstances that make him a bad guy, if you will. Yeah. He's trying to be the good person.
Everyone ignores the last 2 years.
It's his fault that he, here's an example. The way he plays the confession to his wife during his party, she comes outside, he pulls up, he's late to the party, and she says, "Where you been? Are you drunk again?" He's like, "No, I wasn't drinking." And he confesses, "I just hit a man and 2 little girls. And I just ran over them and I left them." And the way he plays it, just that kind of scene, and then it's sandwiched in between a million other scenes like this. It just was so fascinating to me that none of it felt like melodrama.
No.
None of it felt over the top. None of it felt too heavy.
I think the editing had a lot to do with that because if you notice, every time we get one of those scenes, you've got a scene that has a completely different tone before it and after it. Like they snap you back and forwards constantly.
That, and I started noticing the language. It wasn't 100%, but I did feel like I could imagine Inarritu saying to the editor, "Never let a scene totally finish." That moment that we would often wait for, like the beat after the scene is finished, where you kind of let things settle. You were never really allowed to have that resolution. So that helped enormously. You're right. So part of me was thinking, one, it's performances. These people are nobody is overplaying anything. So we just feel like we're in the room and the situation is just terrible. It's awful for these people, but it never feels like they're chewing up the scenery. But the other thing is how fearless he was to cut away from them and how it made me want fucking more. Like, which probably would have been the opposite if you had just played out a long, heavy scene over and over and over again. You know, you probably would have been like, "All right, I get it. I get it. Ah, man, but I think
you know what else was pretty daring? The culmination of the story threads, which ends with them like finding him, staking him out, and then him trying to kill him, happens 40 minutes before the end of the movie. You've still got another 40 minutes of stuff that happened beforehand to fill in the gaps to go.
Like, I wish he was here. I wish Inarritu was here so we could ask him, like, did you really not know you were going to do that when you filmed it? Or did you know that? And you just, it's on the page. Like, exactly where some really great moments to create intrigue with messing with time with your edit. Or did you really discover that in the edit room? Because you're right, that word is so important. Not knowing creating intrigue at certain points in the movie and having nothing to do with that happened so much earlier than maybe, somebody would have put that as like a cold open or somebody maybe would have teased it. Anyway, I totally agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
How about that scene I guess this was the last one where I was just like, my jaw was kind of on the floor because you almost entirely arrive at a linear space in the last 10 or 15 minutes. It almost is totally linear. And when it lands in that scene where she finds Sean Penn after he says he's dead, he'll never find the body, but he let Benicio go. He didn't actually kill him. When it goes there and it cuts to them at night and Benicio comes in that room and he's like, kill me. Kill me. I mean, I was like, I kind of couldn't believe what I was seeing on screen. The three of them were just so incredible. And that was such a ridiculously over-the-top scene on the page.
It was like somebody turned on a fucking tornado in the room. It was, You know,
unbelievable.
You know, it was a better scene for me because ever since I noticed they were jumping around in the timeline of this thing and they started doing the thread of him leaving the bar, I'm like, fuck, are they going to show this? Like, are they going to show the accident? And when they got to the guy where he walks past him and he's like, don't forget to do my garden. The guy's with the leaf blower. And then you wait and you wait and you wait and you just keep waiting. And then all of a sudden the car just shoots through the foreground of the scene. You're like, oh, fuck. Okay, yeah, the next thing I'm going to see is these people dying. But it holds on that. And like it built the tension to the point where you were just nuts with it, but didn't give you a payoff. If anything, it was a relief. Thank God I didn't have to see that. I didn't have to go through that, but he's going through it right now.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, dude. I mean, that's like one of those moments where Hitchcock always says to create suspense, you give the audience all the information. So we knew what was happening in that scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're exactly right.
But you also fear what's about to happen as well because you've spent the whole movie building up to it.
Exactly. It's totally predictable. You know exactly what's going to happen. You just don't know how it's going to play out. And he shows an enormous amount of restraint on just a wide shot.
Yep.
Of just from across the street, watching the guy leaf blowing. There's even restraint in the sound effects. You don't hear bodies tumbling and screaming and crying. No. You just hear the brake.
You barely
of the car,
hear it.
You know, a shuttered brake, and then maybe 3 seconds of silence, and then the truck tearing off.
Yeah.
And that's when the kid fucking runs after him. Man, that is unbelievable. Also, I thought you were going to reference when they're wrapping up in the resolution sequence that last 10 or 15 minutes. After you see everything that really crumbles, I'm not going to try to pretend like I know exactly what happens, but it kind of goes back in time and shows you like what could have been, like some happy moments with each of them. And that shot before Benicio gets in his truck, when he like points at the guy he was working with and he's just so happy and he's going home to his party.
But that also...
He's worked so hard.
That also is a stomp in your face a little bit because he mentions it's your birthday and you didn't have a single drink. Because when he says, no, I haven't been drinking, but I ran these people over, you're like, uh-huh. Like, you don't believe him. And then they give you the evidence that, yes, he did. Like, it was just an accident. He wasn't negligent. He just didn't see them in the dark, like the low light, and hit them. Doesn't make it better.
And I think,
still.
I'm not... Yeah. I'm not a super religious person. I think I'm the opposite of that, to be honest. But there are definitely some, I think, religious themes in here of penance and the retribution. I mean, the whole story of Benicio's character finding God in prison and believing in that so heartily, winning the lottery to win this truck, some lottery giveaway thing how he got the truck. And how strongly he believed that God put that on him as like a reward so that he would kill these families, so that he would have to live with this pain for the rest of his life. I mean, and then eventually him coming home. And like, just the pain of him, the whole thing was just, I kind of couldn't believe it. Like, even just his character alone. There was a movie with just each of these characters, of course.
You know what sold this movie to me, though? It's when it finally came out. He finally told her, I have your husband's heart. If she'd reacted in any other way than beating the shit out of him and freaking the fuck out, they would have lost me. But like,
and I'll raise that if she had not come out the next morning, sat in his car, and then needed him again.
Yeah,
I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, no one's making good choices here.
No, I mean, unbelievable. So, all right, last thing I want to ask you about.
She
just
actually hit him
wise.
too. He asked her to actually smack him.
Come on, dude. Yeah, Sean Penn. You know he was like, fucking, I want to be
and the look on his face. The look on his face was priceless. It was like expecting it but hurt at the same time.
Oh God, that scene is hard to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to watch. You like, I couldn't look away. It's like a car wreck. But I mean, that was she was through the roof in that scene, and Sean Penn was totally at her mercy.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
If anything, he pulled back and
incredible.
gave her the moment, and that's a pro.
Whew, yeah, she was intense. So last thing I want to ask you, which we've talked about it a lot, but it is a filmmaking thing. Did you feel like, I mean, these were three protagonists in a shared movie.
Yes.
You know, this was three amazing stories that easily could have had their own movie each, easily. I felt like they were balanced. Like, this is an amazing.
Yeah.
He was so, apparently Iñárritu was so interested in doing, again, he did it 3 movies in a row. So clearly he was so invested in what this can be, how cinema can do this unlike any other medium, cutting between time and space, between people and characters, and something collective will transcend from that. Did you feel like it was balanced?
Absolutely.
Did you feel like it worked with all 3 of them?
100%, yeah. In fact, it not only did it work with all 3 of them, it wouldn't work without all 3 of them. Like, this story needed that.
Oh, you're totally right. What? Yeah, we could easily play this experiment. If it was just Naomi Watts and Sean Penn, and the supporting character was like a villainesque, you know, like a much smaller role, the guy who killed them, I think that would have been the way a lot of Hollywood studios would have developed that script. Right? No, that's the heavy. That's the bad guy. Let's keep him over there. He shouldn't be as developed.
It's one thing I've noticed that American cinema sometimes has a problem with. It's like a character can bring their own antagonist. Like, they can be their own antagonist.
Dave, yeah. I mean, fuck yeah, dude. Like, everybody's making the wrong decisions. Like, the flaws of these human beings just erupted. I mean, the first shot you see of Naomi Watts, she's in a meeting, isn't she? At the very beginning, she's talking about, she's super fucked up and coked out, and she's at a meeting talking about, and they got me totally. I didn't know who she was going to be. I did not know she was a regular, normal, healthy person at some point in her life.
Also, like, the fact that she looked and played completely different across those time periods. Now, I know they shot it in chronological order, but like, some of the aging and degradation from drug abuse and stuff she was just doing with her performance. Like, there was some fantastic makeup on there as well, but some of that was the different ways she carried herself.
You're totally right,
and
man.
And sold it every time.
One little hair and makeup detail that I can't stop thinking about. When Sean Penn puts his paper down and he sees his sickly feet.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that?
Yep.
Like, I was just like, oh God. And like, that's the first time we had seen him like that sick. And it was just such like what a weird way to start a scene. I was just like, oh Lord, like anything, this guy's dying. Like, that's all I guess I really need to know, but such a powerful image. So gross.
I was triggered by one scene is when he turns his oxygen off to have a cigarette. Because my mum used to do that. When she had emphysema, she'd turn her oxygen off, and I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, 1, oxygen. 2, you need the oxygen, so stop sucking this shit. So yeah, that triggered me a little bit. Made me like his character a little less for a bit.
Well, for sure, yeah. Sean Penn is
actually, he's not a likable character at all. He's doing some
his relationship
creepy things.
with the woman he was with, there's a fucked up person there, and in a way, it's almost stronger that he's the observant one, because I think there's more room for us to have judgment for him, so that you're not ultimately judging the guy you think you should be judging, which is the ex-con murderer, manslaughterer, if you will. I do want to, Sean Penn, just last thing, even though I stand by what we were saying emotionally and what's on the page, he seems to be working with a little bit less giant arcs of emotional transformation and crazy circumstances. His is more subtle and a little strange, because he's trying to kind of find the person that is now, the heart that is inside him, connect with this woman that lost the person anyway. But I do want to just say, as an actor, he is the only one who is working with the drugs that Naomi works with are fantastic, but they're so effective that I think in some ways, when you get to a certain level with acting, playing those impediments is easier than the subtlety that he brought to his issues with his heart and his trouble breathing. That little like yippy, that little tiny gulp thing. I mean, he just carried that behavior throughout. And I mean, there was so much specificity in how sick he was, depending on where you were in the script. That is just, he's a fucking master as well.
Yeah.
So All three of them. I can't say it enough. That was kind of crazy. I'm kind of don't know the last time I saw three people like fucking absolutely dominate characters that way. Oh man. I know it was heavy, but do you agree? Like, I'm glad I watched it. Like, do you feel the same way?
Hell yeah, this is worth a watch on many levels. Like, if you're interested in making film, it's worth a watch. If you're interested in acting performances, it's worth a watch. If you want to be entertained at the non-fluff level, it's worth a watch. Because this is going to be a hard watch, but it's definitely worth a look. It has a lot going
and
for it.
It's only 2 hours long. Some of these movies are very long. This is 2 hours,
even on Prime.
Yeah. All right, that is 21 grams, 2003. Holy crap! All right, so now we're gonna do our usual what you've been watching. Stay tuned, don't cut away, because at the very end of the episode, as always, Dave is gonna spin the random year generator.
Actually, I'm gonna
find out what we're doing next.
We'll spin that.
You want to do it now?
Yeah, we're gonna spin it now.
Is that what we usually do? And I fucked it up.
Yes.
All right, good. Well, I don't know what I'm doing. All right, yeah, sure.
All right, any guess?
1991.
Ooh. We're going back in time. 74.
A great year.
I was 2.
A tiny movie came out that year that changed everything. Okay. We're not going to be right back. We're going to discuss
what you've
been watching. I kind of mentioned mine a little bit, so why don't I go first since I was kind of talking about it earlier.
Sure.
I did watch the on Max right now is The Wise Guy. Alex Gibney made this 2-part docu-series on The Sopranos, but it ultimately ended up being, it's about David Chase, the creator of The Sopranos. Anyone who likes The Sopranos, I think is going to really dig that. That was fun. It also, there's so much wonderful referential cutting to the show that it definitely made me want to rewatch it. It definitely made me remember, like, my God, like just how incredible it was. And now taking it back to where we were at the very top of the episode. And I know that show didn't cost tons and tons of money. It's just the writing and the acting was so fantastic. And yet it still felt fucking cinematic. You know, kind of like the movie we just talked about. It's not that we don't need the big spectacle and glamour sometimes, but I mean,
it's cinematic and it didn't cost $230 million.
Pretty incredible. I also watched, oh, God damn it. What did I finished Haunting of Hill House. I think I told you I was like rewatching that. And I have started
a lot of people are rewatching
those. Yeah, October. Why not? It's fun. Have
you seen Midnight Mass?
I haven't seen Midnight Mass, and I'm in the middle of Bly Manor.
Yeah, Midnight Mass, I called what it was halfway through the first episode. They don't really hide it. But yeah, I was like, I know what it is.
And that's also a Mike Flanagan. I assume is that one of his other? Mm-hmm. Okay. Is that before Bly Manor or after?
After, I think. Yeah, I think it's after. Cool. It's separate from all of them. He's got some new stuff out on. He dropped his deal with Netflix after this.
Oh, okay.
After
House of Usher was the last one, I think.
Yeah.
Fall of House of Usher.
You're right.
Okay.
House of Usher was. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was fun. And I watched, we're still going on Mad Men. Again, same kind of thing as The Sopranos. Just like, man, when the writing's good and the acting is good, you know, it can be a great show. How about you? What have you been watching?
Well, like I said, I watched The Outrun, and Deadpool and Wolverine dropped on digital this week, so I bought that and I've watched it once.
Nice.
It has all the iTunes extras with it, so you get all the making ofs and the extra footage and that sort of stuff if you're on an Apple device. Again, I'm still keeping up with Agatha, which is just going from strength to strength. It's Aubrey Plaza, Patti LuPone, and Catherine Hahn in one episode. It's like you can't go wrong.
Jesus.
And for nostalgia's sake, I went back to X-Men Apocalypse this week.
Dude, Oscar Isaac is so good at that.
I didn't like it, and nobody liked it when it first came out. I didn't like it either a little bit, but watching it now, like,
I didn't mind it when it came out.
I thought it was great. I was a little dark about X-Men 3, I still think, from that point.
Yeah, as we all were, right? That was weird, but he is amazing in it.
Yep.
It gives you the Phoenix thing that we were all waiting for. I mean, everyone was waiting movies for that.
I'm still waiting for them to do it properly.
Oh, come on. God, I don't know though. You know what I mean? Like I feel like anyone who watched the cartoon when we were young, the way they would always tease her power, like there was like one, I know there was a storyline where you did go and follow her around the universe and like you saw a little bit more of what was happening. But I feel like the best part about the Phoenix was that like it never really showed its face too much. It was just there enough for you to realize no one stands a chance. Like there's no reason to show it to you.
Yeah.
It's power that can't even be seen. But that whole fucking sequence at the end where fucking Fassbender is, what's his name? Magneto is spinning everything. And one of my favorite sequences in Apocalypse is the slow motion scene with what's his name? The fast
Oh my god,
kid,
that's
Silver.
the Quicksilver. That's everyone's favorite scene. That's
it's remarkable.
People still throw that on TikTok and social media and shit just for the sake of putting it out there still because it's phenomenal. It's
really fun. What's the song that's playing? I can never remember, but
I can't remember either.
It's funny. It's funny. It's really good. Really good sequence.
It's Eurythmics, isn't it? No, something else.
Maybe. All right. Well, that's what we've been watching. That was fucking great. So now take a break, listen to a little bit of Dasein. We'll be right back, and we're going to choose a movie from 1974. Ooh. And we are back. We're
back.
All right, film fans. After not too long of a discussion, because we have definitely been to this year before, we've done multiple of these movies before, but somehow, probably because we were a little intimidated,
we thought we'd go a little lighter. We'll go a little lighter this time.
Yeah, just a little lighter. Again, we're going for a broad comedy just like this year. No, I'm just kidding. We are going to be doing Roman Polanski's Chinatown, starring Jack Nicholson and Faye Dunaway and John Huston. Yes, this is going to be a intense watch. Tune in next week to see if we have anything new to say about a movie that has been talked about for years.
And just in advance, because I'm going to say something.
Yeah, you're going to say something fucked up. Jeff, we missed you. We hope Water for Elephants, the musical you saw this afternoon, was worth missing out on your very important engagement as a
We've replaced you with AI. You're fucked.
Co-host. You are now replaced. You are the weakest link. All right, film fans, have a good week. We'll see you next time.
Bye.